Hello and welcome to episode 122 of MisanthroPod. I'm Snipe, and I can eat sugar with both hands. I am ambidextrous. I am also joined by Wib. Say hello.
You just couldn't wait to work that joke organically into the podcast, could you?
No, I just as I was taking a breath to start the intro, it popped into my brain and I was like, oh, I like that joke, I'll have to say it. Oh. And then I was like, yeah, sod timing.
Yeah, I got that.
I'm also joined by Drama Matt. Say hello.
Hello.
How are you sweet little sausages doing today?
I mean, fine, I guess. This is... Sure. Matt, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I have AFI's Miss Murder in my head, so I don't know whether that means I'm good or not. But aside from that, I've got my egg. Everything is good.
That bass intro is pretty legit, though.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty good.
I haven't listened to that song for years. I don't know why it's in my head. Anyway, Momes, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for asking. Yeah. And I just remembered that one of the worst experiences I had at college was standing outside my art block having a cigarette with a friend back when I smoked. And just it's 30 yards over, it was the music block, who they either all thought they were going to be the Beatles or the Sex Pistols, apart from one or two people in it, which were really cool. And this guy, who thought he was fucking Johnny Rotten, was singing Miss Murder over and over again, but he couldn't sing.
Oh.
So it was left them all behind. Yeah, he was behind. And it was just oh. And it got to the point where half of my fucking class was out on the balcony singing in tune at him because the windows were open and he could hear us. It was so annoying. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure.
Thought I'd have a mini art college rant.
Yeah. I think we're getting better at opening these podcasts.
Honestly, I think with the names and openings and staying on track, we're only getting better. We're like a fine cheese.
I mean, the rot has set in, it's true.
I mean, no, I'd say that we've got... As a podcast,
and
I'd say...
Matt is remarkably blue-veined.
I was going to say, I feel as an audio medium, we are very veiny.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Our veins tickle your what is not? It's not sound receptors.
It's wherever you want them to tickle, really.
Well, really, yeah.
Depends where you put the speakers.
Yeah, and we're not going to judge, unless you put the speakers in a canal or something, and then it's just well, now you're just annoying the ducks.
Shall I start talking about what I've been doing?
Oh yeah, I guess. What have you been? Oh, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
You've been doing something.
I have been doing stuff and things.
Stuff and
oh wow,
things.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck is this podcast anymore?
I'm sorry. Since episode 3, it's been like this.
Well, thank you for not blaming me, because I wasn't there in episode 3, so it's not my fault.
No.
It's I think it's definitely over the last 20 odd episodes.
We've just fucking lost the plot.
We've lost any if episode 50 odd, we would have gone back and just done the intro again.
And, are you saying now we're just nah, fuck it, we've tenured.
Yeah,
this is our lives now. We don't give a shit.
We've just kind of accepted that this is just what it is now.
I feel like it's kind of we're feeding the audience dog food and we say, the usual, and we don't laugh and they don't laugh, but that's showbiz. And that's just how it is now.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
This podcast is the audio equivalent of dog food.
With veins.
It's veiny dog food. Yeah.
I regret...
I'd make a note.
So many things.
I'd make a note of that for a title for this episode, but I absolutely don't want to think about that phrase again. So, I'm going to talk about what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks.
Is it fucking dog food and pulling the veins out?
Fuck no. So I'll speak because I realised that for a podcast that was initially supposed to be about video games several years ago, we don't actually talk about video games as much as we used to. So I went out of my way to actually play a video game.
Nice.
A videoed game?
A videoed game. But because I am also a contrarian piece of shit, I also decided to play a narrative-driven walking simulator kind of game. So I played through the whole of the Beginner's Guide, which is just like an hour and a half or so long.
People quite liked that 8 years ago or fucking however long it was.
Yeah, I don't remember when it came out. I've managed to avoid absolutely everything talking about it because I wanted to give it a shot because it's from the same guy that did Stanley Parable,
which was a good game.
So here you are to not give any of the listeners chance to do the same.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Well, I'm given the nature of it, I'm actually not going to say anything too deep about it. So, yeah.
I love how you're like, I ain't telling you nothing. Jimmy Tight Lips over here.
But yeah, it's quite fun. The basic conceit of the game is that the guy from the Stanley Parable, he is narrating as himself, is taking you through the work of a developer named Coda that he knew, who didn't send his games out, didn't publicly post them, but he would send them to the narrator, and he's compiled them together to show them off. And it's kind of the thing sort of is a bit of a. It's intentionally they've never actually said what the meaning of the game is. It's up for interpretation.
But I don't like up for interpretation because then I don't feel smart very much.
To give minor spoilers.
Here we go.
To it, my personal interpretation of it being it's a way of addressing that. You can know what a text contains by experiencing it, but that doesn't mean that you know the author.
Also, kind of like a a statement on, say, the nature of parasocial relationships via art.
A little bit. It does definitely contain elements of that.
Okay.
And just how
that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that there is a disconnect between how you can interpret art and how that relates to the person who made it and what headspace they were in. That we can only guess, and at the moment we start to say, the person that made this was definitely thinking this.
You mean every fucking English class I've ever goddamn attended? The author used this word because this, and I remember I read Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, who was unreasonably attractive, let me tell you. I've showed you a picture of John Steinbeck.
I vaguely remember.
Seriously, take a moment to Google him. What a fucking daddy. Oh my god. Anyway, his writing was also pretty good. See, this is why I never became an English teacher. It's so Shakespeare wasn't very bangable, but his brain was. Yeah.
Shakespeare, well known for his fuckable brain.
I'm gonna fuck Shakespeare's brain. To be fair, if I had a 5-minute conversation with him, he probably would write something like Ready Player One. So, I ruin people, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, anyway, the Beginner's Guide is an interesting game. Given its age, I will say one thing, which is that I found out that so because the game the narrator is the developer, and he's playing himself, it led some people to wonder if the events of the game are real or are based on a real thing. And because the creator has not really said anything about it.
Almost like it's up to interpretation.
Yeah, and because he didn't want to say anything about it, it led a lot of people to wonder if it was real. And if it was real, then he was committing, fucking copyright infringement by uploading other people's games and then profiting off them. Because the people... And I don't understand why, because I've played it, and it's really fucking obvious that it's not real. It's super fucking obvious. I actually worry how many people thought it was real. It's like a War of the Worlds situation.
Maybe we're not all certified brain geniuses like you are.
Or Dana Scully.
Or Dana Scully, certified brain genius.
Like, maybe it's just a different time, because I'm playing it much later on. But yeah, I was just playing it and going like at the start you do kind of wonder because it's presented in that way, but as it goes on, like there is a thing of like, well, this is obviously, it's obviously not, like, I don't want to go into spoilers of why, but it's like, but it's obvious, guys.
So then I learned to fly.
But anyway, it's still an interesting game, and I would recommend people give it a shot if they somehow haven't in the intervening time. Anyway, that's me talking about video games done, forever probably, because I'm going to talk about non-interactive media that I have consumed.
I mean, you can interact with any media, if you're brave enough.
I mean, you could press, play, and that's technically interaction.
There you go. It requires your interaction, so checkmate, atheist.
And you can strategically pause it to give people funny-looking faces.
That is true.
That is true. Fun.
I do that a lot when editing videos, honestly.
My brother and I, we grew up fucking poor, so we would steal my mother's whiteboard marker and draw like a dick or like a pair of glasses or a mustache on the TV, and then just shear the fucking house down whenever like it would line up.
Excellent.
Very, very bored children.
So a bunch of old Star Wars stuff has been added to Disney Plus. The Star Wars Vintage.
Fine year.
Now, weirdly, they've added some stuff that it makes me legit happy, like the Ewoks movies, because. No joke, when starting the podcast, Men with Funny Heads, a hit sci-fi podcast that I do with Longfang.
It's available on where you get all your podcasts, like Spotify.
Available anywhere you can find this podcast.
I mean...
Yeah, literally. One of the things that I wanted to do right from the off is do the Ewoks movies, because they're just such a weird little anomaly.
Is that the one with Lumpy?
No, you're thinking, Lumpawaru's in the holiday special.
Oh,
the
Lumpy.
Holiday special has not been added,
Cowards.
But the animated segment from it has.
Oh, is that the one you showed me where it was a fucking fever dream? It's like, okay, who did all of the cast members piss off?
It's incredibly late 70s animation.
It's so ugly. It's amazing.
The version of Harrison Ford brings me such joy. He's amazing.
You should get him tattooed on, like, your bicep. Like, in, like, the kind of, like, you know how, like, dude bros in, like, the early 2000s all had the black kind of, like cat, like, panther.
Yeah.
So when you kind of, like, you flex, it looks like he's jumping. I would do that.
I'm not going to do that.
You probably should.
So I did watch the animated segment from the Christmas special, as you gathered. That's a fun little thing. It's where Boba Fett was first appeared, so that's fun.
Oh, God.
Annoyingly, they haven't added the droids cartoon. They've added the Ewoks cartoon, but they haven't added droids.
Really?
Yeah, which is very peculiar. Especially considering that's kind of like, I think is more well regarded. Like, hell, there's a couple of episodes of the Clone Wars that are like an homage to it almost. Speaking of the Clone Wars, they also added Clone Wars because
that's a different thing, right?
Yeah, there is
a 2D. It looks horrifying.
Yeah, there's The Clone Wars, which is the 3D animated series that most people are familiar with. And then there is Clone Wars, which is the 2D animated series that was done by the guy who can never remember the name of, but he did like Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab and things. He did a bunch of Cartoon Network cartoons. Why are you sniggering?
Because I was like, first of all, apparently the only cartoon maker I know is Hanna-Barbera. And then after that, I was like, it could have been Scooby-Doo. And I'm like, no, that's a cartoon character, not an animator. So that's why I was trying not to laugh. And thank you for pointing it out to the good people.
Yeah.
So now everyone can be truly awed at how fucking stupid I am.
It's okay, dear. You have a unique way of viewing the world.
That's a very polite way of saying that I'm dumb as a bag of fucking spurs.
That is not what I mean, but that is how some people may interpret it.
Wow.
Everything is up to interpretation, apart from my fucking intelligence, which is just rocks.
No, it's just there's just sometimes when your mind goes off on like paths of logic that I
I take umbrage with that. These are not logical paths.
It's just I personally do not understand them, but I am happy to go along for the ride wherever they may go.
Is this like how I act like I basically forget words and then try and describe them like a non-native English speaker because I can't remember them?
Yeah, like when you say things like food bedroom or whatever it was.
I don't think I've ever said food bedroom.
It does sound like something you would have said.
Okay, yeah, but
You have said like kitchen that we sleep in before.
We've only got like a few rooms in our flat. It makes sense with the process of elimination, in my defense.
Anyway, Clone Wars. It's 2D animated. The style of the 3D Clone Wars show is loosely based on it, so that's why it's weirdly stylized in places.
Is the newer 3D one like a retelling of what happens in the 2D one, or is it different stories?
Now that's a question.
Because they're both called Clone Wars or something, so presumably they're both based around the same time.
They're both based around the same time period. Officially, Clone Wars has been decanonized, but lots of the events within it did happen. People will argue all day long about whether the 2D animated Clone Wars is still canon in some way. And everyone is welcome to do that, and I don't care.
That's fair.
I'm happy for it just to be its own thing.
If you want to have an argument about it, Star Wars fans are notoriously good-natured.
They never overreact
to anything.
Never. Famous for it.
To be fair, that's just any big fucking franchise.
All big fans.
I am just poking fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I watched through because these things were released originally as like, if I remember rightly, like 10-minute episodes. Like they were just quick little episodes.
So it's like old school Forces of Destiny almost.
Possibly, I don't really know much about that.
The Forces of Destiny was like the girl power version.
Yeah, it was the time for the dolls, wasn't it?
Yeah. Where they all had like 10-minute like little flash cartoons.
Kinda.
Where they just had like little adventures.
Kinda. They're very action based. There's not much dialogue in them, and they're an interesting little artifact because whilst a lot of stuff in them is sort of doesn't really make sense if you treat them as canon, like the interpretation of General Grievous is as a much more powerful, less cowardly, shit-eating fuck.
But the fact that, like, I mean, I love the characterization of Grievous as just being like I'll get you, and then scampering the fuck away with his tail between his legs.
The version that they did in the Clone Wars 3D show, I vastly prefer because it makes sense with what he was in the movie. Because the version of him from Clone Wars is just a combat powerhouse who then was kind of shit in the movie, so it didn't really make much sense. But they're an interesting thing to watch because I haven't seen them for many, many years, and there's like there's a much more kind of stylistic verve to them, which is a lot of fun. It is 90% just straight like combat, and there's a few moments of like kind of fun stylization, like Asajj Ventress and Anakin facing off against each other, and it starts to rain, and then the rain is like steaming off the lightsabers.
That's really cool.
And things like that. Likewise, when Kit Fisto is swimming underwater with his lightsaber out, it's all the water's bubbling and boiling.
Hang on. Kit Fisto.
Yeah, he's like an underwater Cthulhu Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
very cool.
He's got like tentacle dreads.
Yeah, he's very rad.
He's a tentacle who Fisto.
Kit Fisto.
Okay, right. No, tentacles and fisting, just good. Don't mind me, I'm just distracted. Carry on.
Tentacles and fist. Yeah. Well, no, he is a real Jedi, and I will not have his name taken in. Fisto, yeah.
Okay, right. No one else can see. No, okay, fine. Carry on.
No, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Look, I laughed at the name Kit Fisto like 20 years ago at this point.
Okay, right.
It's kind of like
it's just a Star Wars name to me now.
Yeah,
kind of thing of like, oh yeah, like oh look at I'm gonna move my knob across the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which still elicits a giggle, but you know you become kind of like a little bit immune to it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's it's a weird show. Like there's a lot of stuff done without dialogue, and frankly, the bits done without dialogue are generally better than the bits with dialogue because the dialogue's not great. Although
But Master Kenobi, I want to be the next Hokage.
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, the Anakin's voice actor is a bit more of a whiny interpretation than
So
the version
it fits the
we used
movies
to.
better.
Kind of. Yeah. But yeah, there are some marvelous just comedic timing of lines. It has to be said, but the dialogue is not the strong suit. But the action is. It's if you've never watched it, they've compiled them into 2-hour-long episodes.
Also, kind of that's
because
cool.
it was released in these little 10-minute chunks, and they just compiled them all together to make the 2 seasons of it be 2 episodes. Which you can tell because there are some points when the music kind of bleeds together in the way that a video editor who's left with raw files. Rather he's left with the final cuts of them and not the raw files, and so can't neatly blend them together. Just has to do what he can.
God, that sounds like a poor bugger got a raw deal.
It's not too bad. There's only a couple of times it's really apparent, but yeah. But it's interesting. Also on the Disney Plus thing, I've been watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just for something to do. I've never been a huge fan of either of those characters. Not because I dislike them, just I find it difficult to care about them.
Mm-hmm. Also, Sebastian Stan is playing Luke Skywalker in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Is he?
Yeah, because people were asking because he looks very facially similar to a young Mark Hamill, and he was like, "No, I'm not going to do that because that's not my character. If Mark Hamill gives me the okay, then I'll do it." And now he's doing it, so I can only assume that Mark Hamill's been like, "You're okay, kid," because that's how he talks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realise that was the thing that happened. Okay, that's cool.
I mean, now I'm seriously doubting myself. Maybe I just imagined that.
Citation needed.
Needed. Also,
on this entire podcast, honestly.
I'm going to be in the 3rd season of The Mandalorian as Din Djarin's wife, so, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he is my very real-life husband. And, he gets to wear his Mandalorian shirt.
Anyway, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I started watching it just on a whim. I was like, this is Marvel, it's probably going to be fine. And it's fine. I can't speak for someone who's a big fan of these characters and how they're interpreted, because I'm not that, and I don't think I know anyone who is a super big fan of them.
Oh, the people get foam at the mouth with love for Bucky Barnes because
don't worry, I know people are big fans of them. I'm saying I personally don't know anyone is what I'm saying. So I don't have that perspective on it, but it's fine. But I am a little concerned about it. Because I think 3 episodes are out so far, and without wanting to give too much away, the antagonists of it are a group of people called the Flag Smashers, and
it's not as cool as the Planet Smashers.
I mean,
do the Flag Smashers even have a fucking horn section?
They do not.
Well, then okay, strike one against them, let's be honest.
Do you remember when we went to the Scar is Dead tour and we saw the Planet Smashers and everyone had to sit on the floor and would do waves on the floor? Yeah,
it was like kindergarten. It was awesome.
It was great.
And I was really happy because I got to sit down.
Yeah.
Why were you all sat down?
Because we had to simulate the ocean with our arms.
Yeah.
We were doing little waves because they were doing a song about surfing or some shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was,
Mustard Plug and Bomb Music Industry were also playing.
Yeah. Jeff spray painted a tank top for me.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Because it's if you took a t-shirt, he'd just spray paint a stencil on it.
Yeah, this is back when...
For free, because they didn't have t-shirts.
This is back when Bomb the Music Industry was mostly Jeff and an iPod.
Yeah.
And the bassist from Mustard Plug at that point.
That was fun.
Yeah. But anyway, the Flag Smashers want to have no borders and to help feed and give medical help to refugees caused by the what's it called, the blip they refer to it, when in
the snap,
when half of the populace disappeared for several years in Marvel canon. So they are straight up
they're the good guys,
justified in everything that they're taught that they want.
Yeah, that's like reasonable. Like, hey, yeah, let's work together to, you know, put like, you know, patches on the gaping holes in our collective hearts and communities. That's awesome.
But what makes it weird is, like, so there is this whole thing of, like, in Marvel movies do this a lot, and it's not a Marvel thing. It happens in a lot of, like, mainstream media where they, like, they do this whole kind of recuperation thing of radical messaging of, these people want this radical idea, but they're going about it. They're going about this reasonable thing in an unreasonable way. So we then take them, and then they become part of the system, and then the radical parts of their position then become a less radical version, and the underlying causes of the problem don't actually get changed, but superficial things do. It happens a lot in movies. It's really weird. Well, it's not weird. It's politics.
This is a very tricky conversation that we should have a prepared statement for. So.
No, it's a well-known phenomenon. And this is like and normally they'll at least have a thing where their heroes at least acknowledge that their position is a sympathetic one, but in this they don't. No one acknowledges that these people have a perfectly reasonable position, and
just imagine like Bucky Barnes running down the fucking street and someone screaming with their, like, the back of their hand to their head and pointing, hurry, hurry, he's trying to feed the needy! And then him just fucking gunning someone down.
Well, the thing is, they
he's trying to clothe the homeless, please stop him!
None of the people trying to stop them actually seem to care at all about either their position or the crimes that they are committing in order to do their position, because of course they have to, even though they have humanized these people and given them like a sympathetic goal, they have to of course make them do unsympathetic things, because otherwise they wouldn't be villains. It almost like the writers went, oh shit, we've just made these the good guys, quick, make them do a bad thing at the end of episode 3.
I like the idea of, like, you know, someone's like volunteering at a soup kitchen. It's like, thank you, Captain Murder. We really appreciate you helping out the homeless shelter. And he's like, that's okay, you know, this community's done a lot for me and I'm going to give back. Oh, 5 minutes left, and just fucking knifes the person who fucking works there and then just leaves.
That is not what happens, but metaphorically.
Or farts and leaves the room.
Yeah, metaphorically it's a fart and then they leave the room after helping out
a stab fart, so he stabs him and he farts.
Yeah,
in the stab wound.
That's metaphorically what the Winter Soldier and Falcon, or whatever it's called,
I cannot medically recommend that you fart in a stab wound.
Do not know. I'm not making a note that could be a title.
I thought that was very funny and charming.
Yeah, but we want people to click on the podcast.
Okay, we've already had the worst title. This is a cry for help.
But anyway, so they do this whole thing, and like, it's just weird because they don't care about what they're about. The quote unquote heroes just care about making sure they don't have the thing that they don't want them to have, and that's it. It's fucking weird. Like, they just don't seem to want to interact with, like, they've put in this messaging and then they don't want to interact with it. I hope as they go on that they actually address that fact of, like, you know, you didn't care about what we believed in. You only cared about getting the thing that we have that makes us a threat. Like, they could do that, and that might actually, like, make that kind of balance out a little bit. But as it's standing, I am watching this and going, like, this could lead to a place where it's just, you've just arbitrarily made the good guys the bad guys. And it's really weird, and you don't seem interested in this fact.
And what episode is this?
3. And I think
I don't remember 8. Star Wars being that like that. You
Snipe.
How pre-podcast?
Snipe.
Yeah.
Before the podcast started, I was talking about this, and I used the term episode 1 when talking about it, and you made the joke about I don't remember Star Wars being like that, and then said you were going to work it into the podcast.
No, and then Drama
naturally
told
and
me
organically.
Yes.
And realising that you were completely incapable of doing that, you then did whatever that was.
I thought that was very clever.
That was not. No.
Yes,
No.
I think it's up for interpretation.
It is that. No.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
That was amazing.
That was awful.
Pretty bad. I'm gonna be
Really?
honest.
Honestly, I thought it was pretty good.
If you know what, I would honestly give it to you if you'd have like subtly worked it in. Like I knew, even though I knew it was coming, if you'd have done it subtly, like I would have given it to you. I wouldn't have even mentioned that it was pre-planned.
I mean,
but that was so bad.
I mean, you wouldn't have. You fucking wouldn't have, because you never let me have that. Because you can't help but point out when I'm being super fun and really funny and amazing, and then trying to drag me down. You want me to be this stifled candle in the wind. I'm busting out, Daddy. I don't need this negativity in my life. I'm a strong, confident, independent, whatever the fuck.
Come on, you can admit that wasn't your best.
And that wasn't my best, but it was still pretty decent.
Anyway, moving on.
Was it better or worse than the ambidextros?
That's actually a good, tough question. Which one was worse?
Write in. I'm not going to pay attention.
Let us know in the comments.
Amazing.
Let us know in the comments which one of those awkwardly shoehorned in jokes was the most organic. The last thing I want to talk about, because apparently mentioning this means the podcast gets more views, is Robot Wars.
It's robot. Can I do it again?
Okay, go on to the other side of the room.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. Are you ready?
Ready?
Are you ready?
Yep.
It's a Robot Wars! Okay, I'm done. That never gets any less fun. I am very, very okay with that.
Good. Okay, so I mentioned I've been watching through the old series. I've done that, and I've watched the new UK series as well, because I only saw like the first season of it before they changed the rules around what you could watch on BBC iPlayer without a TV license. And so I was like, I can't be bothered to fuck around with this. So I never got around to watching them, but I have like watched everything now. The new series is very interesting because the new show at the same time wants to have the pedigree of the old show, but also absolutely refuses to acknowledge it at times. It's very peculiar. So they'll like talk about like some of the old teams came back and usually got absolutely destroyed.
What was about that guy who looked like 14 until like the new series when he was just like 60?
Oh, you're thinking of George Francis, the guy who built and ran Chaos 2, who then became a technical assistant, like advisor on the show. But he didn't come back for the new show, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the old teams will come back, and sometimes they bring old robots and they get utterly destroyed. And sometimes they bring new robots, like the team who have kilohertz came back. Was it terahertz? I always get confused which one's the new one and which one's the old one. It doesn't matter. But when they came back, they'd been doing the tournaments, like, because the Robot Wars as like a tournament still was happening in between the TV shows being made. There was still a robot fighting like scene in the UK, they'd carried on and had done really well. Behemoth seems to, I think they'd done that as well because their one was radically improved when they came back. And so sometimes there was ones that were improved and did pretty well, but it was mostly kind of new blood. But whenever it was like old stuff, they'd like only kind of vaguely reference it, and they'd never show clips of old stuff.
Probably a licensing thing.
It's made by the same production team, and it was on the BBC, which still owned it.
Well, maybe the BBC set fire to the archives.
You see, that could have been true, but I know for a fact the BBC's pretty good on archiving these days because they don't want Doctor Who to happen again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for a long time they didn't want it to happen at all, so that makes sense.
but they don't want the when they used to store their classic TV series
underneath
by
like the kettle.
I was going to say by setting them on fire, but
keep the episodes nice and warm.
yeah. So that they're pretty good, and on like the UK versus the rest of the world thing that they did, which was like on the end of season 3, they did use footage of the old show because the one of Team Nemesis came back, and so they showed footage of the old Dietor robot from the old show, and it's like, what? Please, it was just really weird because it feels like they both wanted the new show to be its entirely new separate thing.
But there were too many elements.
But there's too many.
Back.
Yeah, there was too many elements, so they sort of like would lightly insinuate things or lightly talk about them. But then sometimes a person would come back who was like was in a team in like season 1 of the old show, and then they just wouldn't acknowledge that. Or like there was one where they like credited a team for being like the inventor of the flipper who absolutely didn't invent it.
Wow.
Which is just weird. But it is a really fun. The new one is great, and it's really interesting how the whole meta of it became spinners and flippers, and everyone spent every bit between the fights repairing the damage to their robots done by spinners. So everything was like a marathon of not getting torn to pieces. And this is including the spinners, who would frequently damage themselves horrifically because the kinds of forces involved in it. Including that one that literally just exploded. I think it was, what was it called? Apex, I think? That was spinning, lightly tapped a robot built by children, and then exploded.
Excellent.
That's fantastic.
Literally sent its like giant bar smashing through.
Maybe they're just
thing.
really good guys, and they've just built like an explode button into the remote. And then they knew they were going up against kids, and they're like, you know what? We'll give them this one, and we'll make them feel like super cool.
That would be that. Oh,
see,
Yeah,
maybe they were just good guys.
You see, the show is they do with the new one. They try and be a bit more TV about stuff and try and amp up the drama of things a little bit with the behind the scenes stuff. So
just have them screaming into these kids' faces.
Well, I saw
you're going nowhere.
So
you're trash.
I say that to point out that when I say this about the main person behind the robot, I'm not saying he as a person is like this. I am saying that the way the show is edited makes him out to be like that, and I don't know him as a person.
Okay.
But he comes across like a right prick, and he absolutely wouldn't do that. He is. If I was to pick one person in that entire show who would not do that, it's him.
It's Robot Wars.
I get a real bad vibe from that guy from the way he is edited, at least.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't want to say anything about the guy in reality because there's too many reality show aspects to how the behind the scenes, in the pit stuff is shot.
Yeah.
That can
a lot can be taken out of context.
Yeah.
It's very easy to create an editorial narrative.
Yeah, like
Reality TV literally just that's what it coasts on.
Codex Compliant is a series that basically is us finally edited to look like we know what we're talking about.
Fucking right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone can look amazing or awful if you edit them right.
Yeah, exactly.
But fuck that guy in particular.
But yeah, the 3 new seasons of, well, I say new, but the ones that came out a few years ago, of the reboot of Robot Wars, great, genuinely a lot of fun to watch.
Are those the ones with tall, funny, handsome man with great teeth, Dara O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay.
Just talking about him chokes you up.
He's honestly, like, someone might think that I'm being sarcastic about his teeth, but I genuinely love looking at them. They're so enthralling. And I like how
That's
he says...
a quote that is now on the internet, and people can do what they will with.
The way he says,
He's very Irish.
I know, it's so cool.
I think his dad only speaks
he's
Irish Gaelic.
Yeah. Which is why Dara O'Brien himself is a fluent speaker. Yeah. He's also tall, handsome, and funny, and has great teeth. And I like the part in every episode where he goes, "Well, we haven't seen that before."
But I just want to lead on to the last little thing I want to talk about, which is connected to that, which is after watching that, like I've still got a few spin-offs of old Robot Wars to watch. Like I didn't watch Extreme Series 2 because Extreme Series 1 kind of I'm not the hugest fan of it, and I haven't watched like Extreme Warriors, which is the American version of Robot Wars hosted by Mick Foley.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment. But I did decide, you know what I've never watched? I've never watched Battlebots, which is the American version of Robot Wars, which is not to be confused with Robot Wars Extreme Warriors, which was a short, like, mini-series, which was literally filmed in the British studio with the British House robots.
But with American
but
cast.
with an American hosts and American robots and teams.
Okay.
So it was made for America but shot here. Whereas BattleBots was made in America, and it was shown on Comedy Central. And
you showed me some clips.
I tried to watch it because obviously I'd heard about it, and there's a new version of it which unfortunately is kind of a pain in the ass to watch if you're outside of America, because the only places that host it, like legally, are places that only supply to America.
I hate that kind of licensing. It's like,
Yeah.
God.
Basically, if you either have to VPN it or torrent it, and after having watched the original series, I don't care enough to do so. Now, so I'm not saying anything about the new show. I've watched some fights from it. They're very cool. Robots look very interesting. They have flamethrowers and sometimes flying drones. It's fucking wild.
Flamethrowers sounds like it would be intensely unuseful.
It depends. I saw one where it literally had a flamethrower on the front of like a big grabbing arm, and it picked up a robot, held it in the air, and then just filled it full of flame for like a solid minute.
Oh, you mean like literally like was like just marshmallows?
Just fried the insides, yeah. So they made it work.
Okay, that's the one time I've seen a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's not like Sergeant Bash where all he did was set the flammable bits on fire and didn't really do much to most things.
Oh, what about like Cassius though?
What about Cassius?
It's the boxing robot with the dumb face.
There's Cassius, which is a robot made by Rex Garrett, and there's Cassius Chrome, who is a terrible house robot made in the last season of English Robot Wars when it was on Channel 5, and Cassius Chrome is shit, and I hate it.
I know. That's why I brought it up, so you get mad.
But I watched a ton of of BattleBots, the original run, which was starting I think year 2000 and ran till like 2002 or something. It only ran for a couple of years, but had something stupid like 5 seasons. Now, I didn't watch all of it because I watched the whole of the first season and was like, I hope this gets better, because so you know how in Robot Wars the format was, it would be each episode was a heat, and you'd have X amount of robots, either 6 or 8 depending on which series, and it'd be whittled down to 1, which would then go forward into a semi-final or a final depending on how long it was, this particular season was. And then they'd fight through and do the same thing. So each one has its own kind of self-contained sort of like, for want of a better term, narrative to it. It's you follow this one series of teams and one comes out the winner. And so that means that you can watch an episode, when you watch a fight from Robot Wars, you get the most out of it by watching the full episode, because you'll see the progression of teams going through and winning their victories. And it has a kind of through line to it that's kind of very satisfying to watch. BattleBots is not that. Every fight is just a random fucking fight.
Okay.
So like the original series had 3 fights per episode, because it was only like 20 minutes long. And they had a lightweight, middleweight, a heavyweight, and a super heavyweight, like kind of championship running. And the fights would be random throughout it. And it didn't show you every fight that was actually occurring. So it's just kind of random fights. And
you know what that sounds like? It sounds like it wanted to simulate you trying to pirate it.
Yeah.
Let's miss massive chunks.
Except, so you watch this and they'll be like, oh yeah, you've won the big prize.
Is the prize an editor that knows what the fuck they're doing?
I'll get to the prize in a second. Don't worry, it's a thing. So they get to the end and some people win, but it's kind of hard to tell who's got through, and it's really hard to follow, because like fight 1 will be in like episode 2, and then fight 2 will be in like episode 6.
So it's how they originally basically played Firefly.
Yeah. So it's really hard to follow or care about any individual team. Now, individual fights, individual robots can be great and they can be really fun to watch, but the show as a whole is terrible. So it's like, okay, so that's kind of like bad, and it makes it less satisfying to watch than the version that I'm used to. But what really puts the nail in the coffin is everything that isn't the fights. It's on Comedy Central in the early 2000s. Every single person on it is making sexual innuendo that is not funny.
Oh, single entendres.
Single entendres, like
Oh yeah, you showed me. It's like one of the robots had like an arm that went up, and the guy was like, "Yeah, it looks a bit phallic, Viagra," and it's like you're just saying words.
Yeah.
Speaking as someone who's built a fucking career on dick jokes, you are an amateur.
yeah,
sir.
they're not even good.
They're
dick
not even
jokes.
good dick jokes.
The big prize at the end of the trophy is the giant nut. So they're like, who's gonna win the giant nut? And that's actually carried forth into the new one because it's just a thing. Which the new ones aren't on Comedy Central, so I presume the inter bits aren't as terrible and unbearable. But it's weird. They've got like 57 different fucking hosts. None of them are funny, and they have to. And every single season they have to have. They have a woman who is there, and they are picked to be. They're the eye candy for it, and it's really like
They're the fucking like card girls who walk out. And a boxing match
basically,
kind of thing.
and they just sit there and again making dick jokes.
That is really just peak garbage.
One of them is
early
Carmen
2000s.
Electra, which is
Carmen
weird.
Electra fucking shows up. Oh my god.
One of the seasons was
Like
sponsored
that
by
mo-
Final Fantasy X, which is very weird to me.
Yeah.
Shitloads of sponsors as well. The robots have sponsors on them.
Of course.
Some of them are sponsored by Magic the Gathering.
What?
It's so weird.
This sounds okay. If I hadn't seen parts of this myself, I'd say that you just thought this up during a fever dream.
Yeah, it sounds
This
like
is bananas.
It sounds like if I wanted to be insulting and say, basically to pick on all the negative tropes of like early 2000s American TV, and was like, how could I make Robot Wars the shittest possible and be insulting to American entertainment?
Also put like, I don't know, like fucking someone from Jackass in there.
It's also occasionally mildly xenophobic. But then to be...
Okay.
Because, whenever they have to talk about someone coming from another country. Because, but honestly,
Because
that's...
humor is hard.
But that's kind of true of basically anywhere on TV at that point in time.
Yeah, no,
so that's not
true.
specific to it. But yeah, it's so bad. The thing is, I was watching it, and I watched through like the whole of season 1, and then I like skipped through the other seasons. I'd like watch an episode or two of the next seasons to see if it ever got better, and it got mildly better because there was some things like there's little things I won't go into about the way it's shot that are just inferior to the UK series. And that's not me doing like a nostalgia thing. Like, no, they had their cameras outside of the arena, so it was constantly picking up glare from the see-through surface.
Yeah.
Which the cameras were inside it in the UK one and were remote controlled, so they never had that problem.
I mean, you're getting robots like with like flamethrowers and whirling blades. You're probably going to lose some equipment, but that's completely within
That's
your studio insurance. You're fine.
And so there's things like that make it worse, and they got better over time with that stuff. But the overall format was still kind of shit, and it means that it is literally better to watch the fights out of context on YouTube because then you don't have to hear as much of the awful commentary, and you don't get to see the unfunny bullshit between it because there is no benefit to watching them in order whatsoever. I was shocked by how bad the show was.
Yikes.
Yeah. Because people talked about it like for years about, this is like the American version. Oh, have you ever watched it? Like, no, I've never got around to it. And then it was like, wow, it sucks.
It just smacks of like a remake via committee. It's like,
yeah.
the kids like Magic the Gathering and they don't like cameras in the blah, 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 blah. Like, people who don't even know what a robot is.
Yeah, they make it into much more of a sport. Like, they tried to present it as much more of a sport.
Robot Wars is a sport.
Yeah, it is a sport, but like the way it's presented is
so
much
they have
more...
like fucking like halftime commercial. Oh god, I was joking.
They present it like they are sports commentators. And obviously the original Robot Wars had Jonathan Pierce, who is a football commentator. Like,
oh, is he?
He was the one who was doing the commentary, but
I feel really bad because I thought the commentator was Craig Charles because they sound the same to me.
they 1000% sound nothing alike.
They sound very similar to
They
me.
do not sound even remotely similar.
To me, they do. It's like Drama Matt. Do you remember when we went and did that punk festival and you kept thinking Zoe was there, but it was just another Southern woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that. It's like I was watching, I can't remember what I was watching, but there was some like guy from like Dan Saff of England, and I was like, oh, that sounds like my friend. And then I was like, does it? Yeah, to me it does, and that's what matters.
It has been funny watching Robot Wars and having multiple teams. A weird amount of them come from Derby. Well, I say a weird amount, but Rolls-Royce is here, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
Who do you think would win in a robot war between Wall-E and the shit Wall-E from like that 80s movie, Johnny Five? Specifically punk Johnny Five? Like, who do you think would win?
You mean Johnny Five from the Short Circuit movies?
Yeah, that's the bish.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Five was literally a military robot who was designed to murder things.
Well, I haven't seen Wall-E. It's probably the same thing, right?
I don't know. I have not actually ever seen Wall-E.
I don't care.
But I don't think he is designed as a literal hunter-killer bot. Whereas Johnny Five is. I mean, he is a pacifist, so he probably wouldn't. But he can go into that mode. So he does have the capability.
Also, can we all just agree?
Like you know how he has like a toolkit on his shoulder.
Yeah.
That was originally like a literal missile launcher.
Okay, fine. But can we, like, we're talking about old robots, can we all just agree that the big murder bot from the Judge Dredd movie with Sylvester Stallone is a cute puppy and I love him?
Oh, they're fucking great.
So cool.
I love that thing.
It's such a cool looking, like, puppet, I guess.
Yeah, it was a big puppet. As far as
it's so fucking cool.
It's very, very cool. Like,
Yeah.
special effect, that. Fucking love it. It's actually the best thing about that movie.
I know it is. Apart from, Sylvester Stallone's platform, like, new rocks, and his awful, and I mean awful, blue contact lenses. Oh, and Rob Schneider's in it too, which is not...
Unfortunately, Rob Schneider is also... I like that movie in the... I feel like I like that movie in the exact way that you're supposed to interact with it, is that it is a big, dumb movie.
It's a stupid fucking movie.
And I think on that merit,
and I would
it's
like
quite
to
fun.
see. I would like to see a recut of that where it's got spliced in like Demolition Man things, because the aesthetic's kind of similar, like clothing wise at least. So a little. So yeah, it's just like Judge Dredd trying to figure out how to use the 3 clamshells.
It's actually weird how he starred in 2 movies like set in the future, and one of which is in this sort of like one is in like an objective kind of like fucking horrifying dystopia, and
the other is Demolition Man.
And the other...
Wait, no, that's the... fuck.
Yeah, and then Demolition Man's got
so
this...
funny.
And Demolition's got this kind of like, the libs ruined everything kind of thing to it. It's a very different take on like a fucked up future.
Yeah.
Yeah, Demolition Man's a weird movie when you think about it for more than a second.
I try not to, honestly.
Don't think about Demolition Man.
Okay.
I'm done talking about things, by the way. I'm sorry that took so long. There's a lot of weird tangents in there, wasn't there?
Yeah, you really need to learn how to, be a bit more concise. Like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snipe, what have you been up to?
I've actually been up to things. Yeah, despite my crippling mental health and busting up my shoulder and just being a dweeb, I've actually played a video game.
Good lord.
Nice.
Yeah. It's this new game. You'll might have heard of it. Hatoful Boyfriend.
Hatoful what now?
Hatoful Boyfriend. It's a pigeon dating simulator.
I don't know about that. I mean, oh shit! I'm just looking at our YouTube channel, and that's like one of the first videos we ever made.
Right?
Doing
Can't
the playthrough.
believe I forgot about that.
Like playing the demo, I think.
Don't watch it, it's terrible.
Oh, it's fucking terrible.
We had no idea how to conduct ourselves on camera. I mean, we don't now, but we have a little bit more of an idea of how to, sound balance and edit.
Yeah.
But no, I thought, I've never actually completed a full run of it, so I did. And let me fucking tell you, that game goes places. I was not expecting. So, mild spoilers. I'm not gonna, say what's related to Hoomst. Hoomst. But there's one where you go after a person, you end up with your head in a jar, and you accidentally get fed a fellow student, and it's really fucked up.
That does indeed sound quite fucked up.
The one with the teacher, I'm just gonna spoil. because you can like romance a teacher, and I was like, I'm only doing this for completionist's sake because this feels really not okay. And then like you learn about his tragic backstory, and he's like, look, you know, I think you're very special, but I can't in good conscience engage in a relationship with you. So once you've graduated college, meet me in this park and we'll see if we still feel the same way about each other. And I'm like, that's the best way you could have done that. Rather than just being like, yeah, no, like, as a student, fuck your teachers, because that's really not okay. So I was like, you know, that's kind of nice. There's one where it's like this big international spy kind of thing, and you can choose to run away with the pigeon. And I did. Of course I did.
Can I ask
I'm
you
a sucker for romance.
Can I ask you
the first person I romanced was Okasan, and it was amazing.
Good.
Also very frustrating. I'm not going to tell you how it goes at all, but yeah, I honestly, like, when playing it, I was literally like, because, like, you know, you join the track team because he's like on the track team, so you can like hang out and stuff. And I sat there, and there was a part where like he literally has just decided to just eat all of the what are they, like you know those meals you get that have got like all the nutrient, like they're kind of like micro meals kind of thing.
Like a TV dinner thing.
No, like they're supposed to be like health ones. Yeah, like you have like your all-in-one shakes, or
yeah.
He's just like, you go into the track team room and he's just sat on the floor and he's eating like 18 fucking like canisters of this like stuff. And like I joined in because I thought it was fun. It's like, and for the rest of the day you ate like, you know, like a year worth of like dehydrated food. And I was like, yeah, and then it hit me. I was like, I'm not doing this because I think it's funny. I'm doing this because this is what I do. I'm Okasan, and that's why you married me.
Is that the reveal that you were the Okasan in our hearts all along?
Yeah, the true Snipe was the Okasan that she became along the way.
If people aren't aware, because obviously we haven't done it recently, but back in day, Okasan was a reoccurring like visual gag in our videos for years.
He's in Hatoful Boyfriend, you can enable quote unquote human portraits because you like, okay, if someone doesn't know,
I realised we have been talking about this like people understand what Hatoful Boyfriend is.
Yeah. But no, Hatoful Boyfriend is a pigeon dating a bird dating simulator where you are like what's referred to as a hunter-gatherer, which is like the only human in this weirdly post-apocalyptic storyline. And like you go to like the Pigeonation Academy, the most splendid school, was it of the pigeon, for the pigeon, and by the pigeon.
Yep.
And when you first encounter them, they have like a character card, and it's just like a photo of an actual fucking pigeon. And the human ones, like, they show up the first time when the character is introduced, and it's like, oh, this is kind of like the anime boy representation of what they look like.
Yeah.
So, and like, you know, so you've got the cute, like, you know, childhood friend Ryuta, you know, and he's like, you know, and then there's the teacher and stuff, and he's got his glasses on or whatever, you know. And then you get to Okasan, and it's just a pigeon in a fucking suit.
Yeah, he's even in his anime boy interpretation, he's still just a pigeon.
He's an anime pigeon in a suit, and it's like, I love him. There's also, instead of, like, White Day, or, like, Valentine's Day, the way they do, like, when you give chocolate to the boys you like.
Yeah.
Pigeons can't eat chocolate, so you go buy them romance beans. It's called, like, Legumine-tines, and it's horrible to say.
Legumes.
Legume times, yeah. There's also a secret character I found that's... I'm not going to spoil it, but okay. And that route ends up very interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of range in there.
It was
very entertaining.
It has been a long-term goal to one day do a full Let's Play of the Okasan run to put up on the channel.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been enjoying that. I think I just need a few more endings, but it is a bit tricky, and I'm not very good at following instructions. Shock horror. Surprise everyone. This will surprise you all. I watched a horror movie. Yeah. I think it was a Thai horror movie. They were speaking Mandarin Chinese, so. But yeah, and it was like, it's set in a hospital.
Okay.
And it's an old dead hospital, and like it starts out and like the guy is kind of like there's an old guy and his son, and the old guy's like, oh, I've got like 2 weeks left before I die of cancer, and it's like, oh, okay, and the kid's like, I'm gonna go to like Taipei because I'm sick of helping you out on your ghost tours. And then there's two ladies that come in and they're like, oh, my husband died here, and the younger girl is like, oh, my sister died here, and I want to commune with the spirits. And it's just a very paint-by-the-numbers, spooky ghost hospital movie. I was actually kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
And that the dad gets possessed by black goo at one point.
I hate it when that happens.
Right? It's like, so suddenly this is in canon with the X-Files all of a sudden. But no, and it's like, there's a creepy little mannequin doll that they tried to make really creepy, but it reminds me of Brahms, like The Boy, which is lost on YouTube, but someone who likes horror movies has probably seen The Boy, where it's like this little creepy mannequin that's just like is a ghost and just goes around in a wheelchair looking a little spooky, but ultimately pretty goofy.
Is that the one where occasionally they like badly like composite in like human eyes onto it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
The CGI is not great, but I mean, fine. It was just weird, and like if you're interested, the like trigger warnings. There is a lot of suicide in it. It's weird because like there's certain parts that just feel so out of order. I don't know if maybe that's just like a style they were going for, or if it was just, you know, bad. So like the dad, who's like 2 weeks away from dying of cancer, so he's like really in tune with the spirit world, and they have like yin water, and they lock the two girls in like the morgue, like the the what is it, the sliding refrigerators you put dead people in.
The morgue?
The morgue is a room. The segments that you...
Oh, you mean the actual, like...
Yeah, the refrigerated units that you put dead people in. So, the dad locks the two women in the freezer and is like, you need to absorb more, like, yin energy, because, you know, like, yin, yang, dark, light. Okay. And it's like, the more yin energy you consume, the closer you'll be to being able to see the spirit world. And it's like, okay, so you need to be near death, or just have a lot of negative emotions, I guess, or just absorb a lot of negative energy, or I don't know. It's not my culture, so I am ignorant to it. Then he's like walking around with like a vial of pure yin water, and it's just ink. It's just ink, and like he randomly at one point when they get separated, he's just in an operating room, and you see like a CGI kind of like scalpel with the little like mannequin boy in the corner just cutting his chest open a little bit, and then you're like, okay, he's dead, and then he just comes back and he's like, fucking mannequin boy.
It did look, from because I saw you watching a little bit of it, it did look like it did have some fun imagery, like the way things were shot were kind of interesting, but like it didn't look like particularly like earth-shattering or anything, but it did look at least visually a little interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting in the way that, you know, you don't often see that kind of thing, like, you know, that kind of culture reflected in horror movies and stuff. It's usually like,
at least not here.
Well, not here, at least, you know what I mean. It's usually like, it's the Japanese kind of things, you know, you don't often see like a lot of other kind of East Asian interpretations of like horror stories and whatnot, so...
I guess, a lot of it just doesn't get translated to come over
here.
I
mean, so. I wish it would, because it's very interesting kind of seeing different cultures' like idea of what is scary. And like, you know, because everyone has their own kind of like, you know, like before, like, you know, a lot of widespread success of like The Ring and stuff, like the whole spooky Japanese girl with hair everywhere was kind of like, that wasn't as much as a trope as it is now.
Yeah, I think that's probably why that hit so hard when it did.
Because it was just so different.
I remember watching it. It was a new monster.
Yeah, exactly.
We were bored of our existing monsters, so we got a new monster.
Exactly. So it is interesting Like, seeing it from that perspective. But it was a perfectly serviceable movie. I wouldn't watch it again. As what I don't think I got scared.
Did you say what it was called?
Hospital. Yes. It's on UK Netflix. Yeah. Okay. So I have 2 more movies to talk about.
Okay.
One of which is from 1986.
Okay.
And it's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it because I love Arnie movies. It's called Raw Deal, and I've not seen it before.
I don't think I've even heard of that.
Yeah, it's honestly, I'm not surprised you haven't, because it doesn't follow the kind of standard formula for an action movie.
But it's an action film.
It is an action movie. It is the main character, Arnie, of course, is basically it's like a 35-year-old movie, so I feel confident spoiling a couple of plot points.
Yeah.
So Arnie is like, he's a sheriff in a small town, and his wife fucking hates it, and his wife looks exactly how, like she's got, like, the little kind of, like, pleated dress on with a pearl necklace and that half up, half down kind of permed poodle hair.
Okay.
And it's just like, okay. And he's, like, the sheriff because
he's the biggest.
He is the biggest. He got fired from... He quit the FBI because of a shithead lawyer who literally was like, you brought in this paedophile child murderer with 47 broken bones, because he just savagely beat him. And it's like, different time. I mean, don't get me wrong, fuck those kinds of people, but also, like, I'm not going to get into the whole police brutality thing, but it was definitely a tooth dryer when watching it. And like the lawyer was like, oh yeah, resign or get prosecuted, it's your choice. And like, so he's like having to, he had to quit, otherwise he'd be fired, and then he wouldn't be able to get hired anywhere. And his wife resents him, and she bakes a cake, and she frosts it with chocolate icing, and then she writes on it with white icing, shit, and then she throws it at him.
Okay.
Because she's mad and she hates the small town and she's day drinking.
She must still bake.
But no, he's like, he comes home, he's like, what's for dinner? And she's like...
Baking-based spite.
Yeah, and she's like, this, and then he goes, oh yeah, if we eat this, we'll get fat. And it's like, I'm sorry, Mr. 1% body fat. And woman over there who's just, famous woman, she's skinny, and it's like, you could eat cake a week solid, Arnold, and you'd be fine. But okay. And then she just fucking yeets it at him. And then he, like, stops and turns around, and you know that they thought this was going to be a hilarious one-liner, which is, you shouldn't drink and bake. It's just like... LOL, marital disputes. It was so fucking weird. But yeah, anyway. The movie starts with, like, after we get introduced to Arnie just being a badass, of a safe house, an FBI safe house, just being run down by the mob, just shooting up everyone, and then they kill the main, like, informant kind of guy who was going to stand trial. And then you're introduced to the character of Harry, who is, like, an old work colleague of Mark, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just going to call him Arnie, just for,
No one calls them by their,
It's like names like Mark Kaminsky, which is a really fun name. I love the name Kaminsky. It's very cool.
Everything feels more realistic than when he was named John Matrix, so,
Commando was a fucking trip.
Yeah.
It absolutely was. And he comes in and he's just sat on the floor going, it was 2 weeks away. What was it exactly? I wrote it down. He literally sat there next to this FBI agent going, his birthday was in 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, that's a funny take on he was like 2 days away from retirement. But no, I felt
his birthday was in only 7 months. Wait, what?
His birthday was this time next year.
I mean,
we were going to go to Butlins.
Statistically, you wouldn't have to mow down that many people in a place for one of them to be close to their birthday.
Yeah, but I thought that was really funny. And then later, it's like he calls in Arnie and is like, I know you've quit the FBI, but I will personally finance this revenge mission.
Okay.
Because the guy they killed, who was 2 weeks to his birthday, was actually my son. And it's like, oh, I feel like an ass now. Okay, cool. And he's like, okay. So then he drives his sheriff car, which is what they're called, by the way, I know, to like a local, like, I don't know what it is. It's like a power plant. It's got like, maybe like a petrol station or something. It's like a petrol factory. Where, when they make petrol.
A refinery.
Yeah, something like that. And he's like, just like, he like, bolt cutters the
fucking petrol factory.
Fuck off. He bolt cutters the fence open so he can go in, and then he radios is like, yeah, I'm investigating like a possible B&E at fucking wherever I am. I don't know, the petrol factory. And then he drives his car in next to this big fucking like thing that contains explosive liquid, like big kind of tank. Yeah, I cannot English today. And then he just basically gets on a bike and drives away and then explodes it. So he fakes his own death. Hasn't told his wife this.
Okay.
After she threw the shit cake at him. Because, do you want to know how she reveals the shit cake?
How?
She's like, because he's like, oh god, like, what, like, why do you hate it here? And she's like, because it's exactly like the most common thing that all the cows around here produce. And then she holds up the cake that's got shit on it, and then she just yeets it at him. And it's like,
honestly, I feel like any talk about the action movie stuff that's happening is somewhat like, it becomes somewhat mundane after shit cake throwing.
Okay, it gets better.
Okay.
So basically, Arnie has to infiltrate the mob to kill the people who killed his friend's son, which is like, okay. So, and then he meets this lady that he's like sidling up to and being very like flirtatious with, and I'm kind of like, oh, am I gonna hate this guy because he cheats on his wife even though she thinks he's dead? Turns out, no, he doesn't do that. He doesn't engage in any kind of, like, extramarital affair. And, like, it turns out the woman's spying on him for his partner in the mob who hates him and thinks something's going on. And he just wants to take care of her. And, like, literally they're at, like, they're having a nice meal at a restaurant. And she's like, so, yeah, I really like you. Basically kind of going, we've been flirting and stuff, and we haven't even kissed, so, like, what's that all about? What are we, kind of thing? And he's like, and, he's like, well, I like you too. And she's like, so, unless you're married, I ain't going nowhere. And he's like, And she's like, wait, you're married? And he's like, yeah, I'm really sorry. And she gets really mad, obviously, because, and he just turns around and goes, no, I care about you. You're my friend. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's really wholesome.
Yeah.
And, like, I long story short with this, is like, they don't get together, and he helps her out of the shitty mob situation, and they're just friends. And he doesn't cheat on his wife. And I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm just like even though his wife is a shit cake thrower, he's like, no, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be a decent dude, and I'm not gonna lead this lady on. And it was just really refreshing. I was like, oh, fuck, okay. I thought it was like, oh, yeah, stupid wife, haha, she's, I don't know.
She throws shit cakes at me.
Oh, bye.
Which admittedly would put somewhat of a strain on a relationship.
It would. And then they have, like, at the end, Arnie literally just goes on a fucking murder spree.
Which is what you're there for if you're watching an old Schwarzenegger movie from that era. It is
absolutely what I'm there for. But the thing is, there's, like, no repercussions at all. It's just, yeah.
It's the 80s. There was very little repercussions for anything.
Any police brutality at all. I mean,
just for any shitty behaviour, there basically wasn't repercussions, so it actually checks out.
Yeah, and the ending is, like, super, like, because he shoots his, like, friend Harry, who he's, like, on the mission for, because, like, the guy he's paired with who hates him is trying to get him to, like, fuck up because he's been told that he's not who he says he is. And it's like, oh, it's fine. It's just, he shoots him, and then, like, he just has to like go through physio, and at the end he's like, oh yeah, by the way, Amy's pregnant. Like, you never see the wife again, and it's like, also she's forgiven me for faking my own death and disappearing for like a year. And it's like,
they just needed some space, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
She just needed to believe he was dead for a while.
And he's back in the FBI, so she loves him again or something. It was a fucking wild ride. And, now, I literally physically was wincing at this part. When he's undercover, he goes to a gay bar.
Oh, God, how badly was it handled?
Goes to a gay bar to rough up one of, like, a rival syndicate's, like, member. And there's drag queens, like, lip-syncing on stage. They go into the drag queen dressing room, and it's like, yes, there are drag queens there. And, you know, I don't know if they are, actually. They probably won't be. But, like, and nothing homophobic was said. And nothing transphobic was said.
That's really impressive, because
I was fucking shocked.
In a lot of like movies from that era, they can't help but just hurl homophobic slurs, even when it's not relevant.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. All like transphobic shit. And I was so concerned. I was like, oh God, please don't. Please no. And no.
Oh, no, well.
And I was like, oh. I mean, there was, like, one thing at the end, because it's like, you know, he grabs the guy and he kind of runs them down, like, the workstation for the girl's makeup, instead of having the guy get shot, basically. Yeah. And they go down and there's, like, a cop there. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, just helping the boys out with their makeup. And it's like, okay, well, they're drag queens. So, you know, some drag queens are okay with you calling them boys or whatever. It's like, that's not as big of a dick as you could have been.
Considering the time period,
wow. I'm surprised it wasn't like, oh, let's have like something really fucking gross and horrible. But no, I was.
It is always nice when you know,
pleasantly surprised that, you know, they put the base amount of effort into not being dickheads.
Like, you shouldn't have to be grateful for this stuff, but it is. You know, I watch like you know, a lot of old stuff. Like old sci-fis and old
help
stuff
but
like
wince
that.
at so many things.
And you just know whenever they get in certain situations, you just go, oh, I'm just going to have to brace myself for this. And it's not to sit there and say that the people that were making it were bad people or anything.
It's just, you know, the times were bad.
Yeah, it was just such an accepted and, expected thing. Like,
being shitty about this stuff was what most people were like. And 100%.
Like, it was the sense of humour of just, haha, make a gay joke.
Yeah, and people absolutely were campaigning and pointing out this is bad the whole time. Like, no one was saying this was good ever, but it was just an accepted thing. So, you know, you do just have to fucking watch media and like old media and kind of just brace yourself. Like, okay, how bad is this gonna get?
I mean, the one thing is that it does show you how far we've come. I mean, don't get me wrong, we still have a hell of a long way to go, but it's like, look, I can see visible improvement that at least makes me not go crazy when I'm doom scrolling or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was interesting. It was a bit all over the place, and I wouldn't say it's a good movie, and it does showcase the fact that Arnie hadn't learnt English for very long, and as a result was not a fantastic actor.
Not Hercules in New York levels where he's dubbed, though.
Where he's dubbed, yeah.
It is Hercules in New York where he's dubbed, right?
Yeah, it is. Also, there's a very funny part where they, like, Arnie and the lady go to fuck, and she's like, she takes his shirt off, and she kind of just looks at him and goes, wow. And it's like, fair. You would just be like, I think she just looks down at him and goes, holy shit.
I thought they didn't do anything.
No, the thing is, he pretends to fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, you know, because he's still acting as if he's kind of like...
okay.
Because that's, like, the first night they kind of have, like, together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't kiss or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, and so he pretends to pass out and he cracks his skull. I don't think that was intentional. He like cracks his skull on the bedpost. It's quite funny. And then she's like, okay. But yeah, very interesting. I can see why it didn't do well, because it wasn't fantastic. And it did buck the usual trend of, like, big dick, like, muscular hero is big sex man and makes women go, ooh.
And it also has shit cake.
It has shit cakes, which is fantastic.
Good shit cake.
Yeah.
Is we stan?
No, I wouldn't.
Do we not stand shitcake?
I do not stand shitcake.
Okay.
No. Last thing I've seen is
Critical support of shitcake.
Okay, you need to stop. Last movie I saw, last thing I've seen is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
That's based on those kids' books, isn't it?
Yeah, no, like it is based on a book. The book itself, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, is just a compilation of horror stories, and was famous for its horrifying illustrations. Drama Matt, do me a favor and Google some of those fucking things.
All right, what am I looking up?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark illustrations.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Okay, you can hear.
Yeah. Images.
This was a children's book.
Okay, I'm going to have to type in book because it's just coming up with pictures from the film.
Yeah.
So, book. Oh, okay. Oh my.
Yeah, that's a children's book.
No, it's not.
That's for children.
It's not. No, it's not.
Yeah. So they made basically a movie surrounding the little short stories, which I honestly never read the book. I think it was more kind of like based in America.
I've only ever heard Americans talk about it.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
I would have loved and hated it as a child. But like, you know, like the stories from what I have osmosed from people around me is that the stories themselves were fine. They were spooky, but it was the art that terrified kids. Because it is creepy. And like, don't get me wrong, the representation of like the monsters in the movie are pretty good. Like there's this really creepy kind of like large woman with like a really wide mouth and like
Yeah,
black.
it's using all the promo art, isn't
It's
it?
honestly, yeah, to see it moving is really creepy and very well done. The acting in it is fantastic.
Del Toro, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'll tell you what. You keep talking. I'll
Okay,
find
I
out.
mean,
Okay.
that checks out from seeing the pictures from the book. It was like, yeah, that would make sense. It seems like his sort of thing.
Yeah, it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like, honestly, I really did enjoy it. Like, oh yeah, Guillermo del Toro. There he is.
Screenplay by Del Toro. It wasn't
Yeah,
directed
yeah.
by him. Okay.
Yeah, but no, it was it had a couple of jumps in it because of course it did. And honestly, like halfway through it, a lot of the kills just felt really fucking mean-spirited. And it kind of just made me feel bad. And there's racism in it as well, because like the main kind of character's love interest, Ramon, is obviously of like Spanish descent. So, you know, there's a couple of slurs thrown around his way, because it's set during late 60s, around Nam.
Is that when the books were originally written? Maybe?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
I'm not sure when they originally came out.
And like the main girl is like, you know, she's big into horror and she likes writing spooky stories and stuff. And I'm like, cool, I like her. Her dad is Hank from Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And that man is acting his heart out in this movie and he's real good.
Isn't it weird that there's this adaptation of kids' books, but it is not made for kids?
It's made for adults that enjoyed the medium when they were kids. So
It's very peculiar.
I mean, it is a 15.
I mean, I say that as if a trailer didn't come out literally like 2 days ago for a sequel to Space Jam that contains the fucking droogs from A Clockwork Orange. So,
Ready Player Baseball 1. Yeah, Lamau got him. But yeah, and yeah, it has a lot of heart and the acting is very good. There's like one story where I was actually kind of cringing about it in a kind of horror way. Not that's terrible.
In the way you're supposed to.
In the way that you're supposed to,
Okay.
because it's like this girl gets a big zit on her face, and like the main kind of thing is they go to this spooky house, and there's like an urban legend of a lady who used to live in the house who was locked in the basement because she was crazy, and the kids would go up to like the basement vent and be like, oh, scary Sarah, tell us a story. And then she'd tell them a story through the vent, but then, like, the kids would disappear. And like, she had a book that was inked in child blood. So they go down, and, because the main character, she's obsessed with, like, horror stories and stuff, and she loves it. And the thing is you're supposed to say is, like, Sarah, tell me a story. So she says that. And then they leave with the book. And then, like, she's reading it, and there's no more kind of scary stories. And then one starts just magically appearing on the page, and she's like, what the fuck? And this is the one with the scarecrow, which, like, honestly, if I'd have watched this when I was, like, around 14, 15, it would have fucking traumatized me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm going to spoil the first kill, because it's, like, that's the one you can feel good about, because it was the bully. And, like, it was like, oh, I can't remember his name, it's like Tommy. It's like, oh, Tommy hated Harold the Scarecrow. He hated that thing his whole life. And she's, like, reading it going, what? Like the Tommy we know? Because it's a small town. And then you see him kind of wandering around and, like, because, like, at the start of the movie, you see him with all of his fucking, like, Chad mates, like, just beating up the Scarecrow because they hate it. And then, like, he gets stabbed through the chest with a pitchfork by the Scarecrow. But there's no blood, because, again, it's like a 15. And it's a tentative 15 at that, I would say. And then he starts, like, pouring straw through it, and then vomiting strands of straw.
Oh.
And it starts, like, coming out of his eyes, and his nose, and his ears, and his fingernails. And it's like, this is extreme for a 15, let me tell you.
Yeah, it does sound pretty bad. That
Yeah.
sounds so bad it could nearly be in an episode around the twist.
Right? Which is definitely for, like, 7-year-olds and is fine. That show traumatized me as a kid. In the best way.
One day we should totally just, like, watch a bunch of episodes around the twist and just do a MisanthroPod episode talking about it.
We should do one with the lemons, because that's the one that scared me. That scared me the most.
Fucking round the twist, man.
Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Next whole number, what we're on, episode 150, Round the Twist episode. There we go.
Okay,
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Not that anyone but us will care.
Don't hold us to that. We'll have forgotten.
Yeah. But yeah, and like it goes through, and like a couple of the friends disappear, and like you see them kind of like not die, but just be removed. And like the one of the guy's sister, she gets bitten by a spider in her cheek, and they're like, oh shit, we need to go save her, because it's her story now. It's kind of like Final Destination in the way that they can see the words appearing on the page, and it's like, oh, Ruth. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. Her name's Ruth. It's like she went to the bathroom because she had a zit, and then she's kind of like looking at the zit, and she's like, oh god, it's so big and gross, because it all, like, she's doing a stage play.
I'm just going to say, is this something that is okay to talk about to everyone? Because this might squick people out a bit.
This is, well...
Like, the Scarecrow thing was pretty fucking bad.
Really? I guess...
I appreciate that some people don't like even hearing about this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm going to gloss over it very quickly then. Skip ahead like 20 seconds if you don't want to hear it, because it contains spiders and kind of body horror. Okay, going to start talking about it now, so skip ahead. She's like, this thing keeps getting bigger on her face, and it's pulsating, and then a little hair comes out, but it's an actual spider leg. And then they explode out of her face and cover her. And she's basically taken away, like, on a stretcher.
What, by the spiders? Oh.
Not the spiders, no. No, the EMTs come, because, like, they throw water on her, which stops them from attacking her. And she's basically just a gibbering fucking mess, and I felt fucking horrible for her. And it was like this, I was like, that's so fucking mean. Because, like, she's shown as kind of, like, typical, like, kind of older sister, but she obviously cares about her brother and his friends. Like, you know, she's not so two-dimensional as that. And I was like, I feel really bad for this girl. Like, she's a victim of circumstance. I mean, all of them kind of are, but it just felt really horrible. But it's okay, because, you know, things start kind of working out. But yeah, and it ends quite hopefully, and I was like, you know what, I retract it. It was mean-spirited, but with a hopeful ending like this, I'm feeling quite positive. Okay. And I think that watching it without having any connection to the or like childhood nostalgia tied to the book itself, I think has done me a lot of favors, because I had very middling things about this movie. And, like, I think, honestly...
Well, you were going in with zero expectations.
I was just like, no, like, some of the visuals are incredibly striking.
And you've watched some right fucking shit horror movies recently,
really,
you know...
Like, I mean, that's because most of them are shit, because it's the thing that a lot of people try and make because they think it's easy.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking not. Horror films are one of the harder fucking films to make, but people just think, oh, just jump out and say boo, throw a bucket of fake blood on someone, that's horror. It's the same reason why like Silent Hill 2 is like regarded as one of the best horror games of all time, yet there's billions of fucking like bad Five Nights at Freddy's clones. I'm not going to say I think Five Nights at Freddy's is bad. I think it's a great children's horror game. I think it's a great first step into the realm of horror for kiddies, because, you know, a lot of dark stuff is alluded to, but it's basically just big fuzzy creatures shouting at you. So it's quite a safe way to become accustomed to horror. And like all those kind of like fucking Slender clones and shit like that. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people think making horror games is easy, but it's actually probably one of the harder kind of like the hardest games to make, because to do well, because time is like movies, they got you for like an hour and a half. You can't get super used to a creature or a monster or something like that quickly if it's not like yeah, it's shot like say Alien, where you only see it like split seconds, like here and there, corner your vision thing, which is I think how a lot of them should be done, because then it keeps it creepy. And also if it's just a guy in a rubber suit, you can't tell as easy. Like the part in Alien where like Dallas is wandering around with a flamethrower in the vents, and then it just cuts to the alien and he just holds his hands out like, hug me, which stopped me being super afraid of it. But yeah, so like there are a lot of difficulties with it, but I think this does it well. There's the Jangly Man, which you laughed at the name of because I always have subtitles on, and that's fair. He's basically Never Dead, like that game where you could like get your arms and legs blown off and just roll around as a head and like rejoin with your body parts.
Yeah, you could and you could, it would attach in any way, so you could like just have a foot attached to your head and things.
Yeah, but this guy doesn't do anything fun like that.
By the way, even because I know Never Dead's one of those games where when people talk about it, people who've not heard about it go, "That sounds like that would be really fun."
It's not. It's not. They hecked it up, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a fun concept executed poorly. But yeah, and like he's just kind of probably the weakest out of all of them, because he literally at one point looks at the fucking camera and just does a jump scare at you, like, bleh, and it's like, wow.
Cool.
But otherwise, I actually quite enjoyed it. Like, there's, like, the scene with the weird kind of, like, chonky lady was very well done. That was very unsettling, and it very, very visually striking. I was very impressed. So yeah, no, I thought it was actually quite an entertaining horror movie. If you don't get squicked out by a certain kill, then
multiple kills by the sound of it.
Well, it's not a kill. Yeah. But yeah, I can recommend if you're looking for something that'll it is tense. It has tension, which is something that I don't really. I think it kind of. The amount of horror media I consume, I just, like, tension is not something, it's kind of hard to establish it for me. So unless it's done incredibly well, I'm kind of immune to it. And this movie did tension very well. And when it did jump scare me, it did make me laugh, like, you fucker, you got me, okay, yeah, you earned that. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Okie dokie.
Thank you very much for listening. Drumbly bumbly.
Yes.
What have you been up to, dear friend?
Well, I've been doing a couple of things, but I'm only like part way through them both. So okay. I was debating whether mentioning them now. I might save them. So one of the things I've been watching is a TV show called Money Heist on the Netflix. Oh,
is that with the Salvador Dali masks that everyone's fucking hawking?
It's cause we started watching it because we were watching that Lupin a few weeks ago, and we were like, "Oh, heist stuff. What can we see?" And we were like, "Money Heist. That's probably about heists."
And money, maybe.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's a pretty. The name makes it sound a bit bad because it's like such a generic name. It's a Spanish TV show.
Okay.
And it's I think the original name is like something like La Casa del Papa, which means like something like
House of the
House of Money.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think House of Money sounds far too much like House of Cards when translated directly. So I was like, I guess they were like, well, we can't really use that, so let's just give it a really shit name, like Money Heist.
They should have called it like the House of the Heist, in brackets, money. Hire me, Netflix, you fucking cowards.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really good. It's but we're only there's 4 parts because Netflix now calls series as parts a lot of the time.
It's just it's fancy and artistic.
Yeah. And we've just finished the first one, so Yeah, I'm not quite sure where it goes, but in essence, yeah, it's a heist series. They're robbing the what's the word, mint in Madrid, so the Spanish Royal Mint, where they print the money.
Oh, I see. I thought there was just like a big, like, Mighty Mint somewhere.
Just nicking a big polo.
It's just a big polo. It's like, I think
maybe they've been nicking all the middle bits of polos. That's why.
Pole hole, yeah. But no, I think that speaks to my Australian roots, where it's like, in Australia, we have so much fucking, like, land. We just build big things. Like, big versions of things, like the big lobster, the big pineapple, the taste of Queensland. You know? So I was just like, oh, this is a big polo in fucking Spain or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I got so thoroughly confused. But yeah, sorry. House of Money Heist.
House of Money Heist. Money. And yeah, so the essence of it is they go into this thing and they make it look like they're going to just, rob the mint and rob the money there. But basically the whole point of the heist, and you find this out in the start episode, so it's not with spoilers, is to basically the whole thing is to delay the police coming in, and then rather than stealing the money in the vault, they're actually just printing their own money. So rather than stealing however many millions are there, their aiming is to be there for like 12 days, and they're going to print like 2.4 billion euros or something.
Oh, that's
but then it's not
clever.
stealing, but then it's not stealing from anyone, so they can come across as the good guys, or at least not bad guys, because they're not robbing from anyone. They're just printing their own money.
And it also means that they don't have those bills aren't marked.
Yeah, well, they're coming up with their own like serial numbers and things. Or
that's
something.
Really fun.
But yeah, so that's the like overall thing for the series. But actually, a lot of so there's a bits of it because it's it has to be quite a clever in the way that heist films often are. They've got to be sort of 3 steps ahead and quite clever at all these things. So that is going through the whole thing as well. But kind of the main part of it is like all of the various, because the characters who do it. So it's set like now. And you'll set them in the heist and you're seeing through. But you've got one of the characters is narrating it, but in the past tense. So it's obviously they're narrating it from the future. And then you've also got flashbacks because they were like living together for like 6 months while they were planning it. So they've got all of the characters have got these like, connections from living together in a closed space for so long. So it's all about like the character dynamics because they're just locked in this place for like 10, 12 days with nothing to do apart from... They've got to look after the hostages and things, but there's like, there's not. They can't just sit around and play computer games because they've got to be on it the whole time.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly emotionally draining.
Yeah, so it's like it's all about the sort of interactions between the different heist characters, and then also between the hostages as well. And then a lot of it's set from from the perspective of the main police detective who's running the case from the outside, and it sees like a really sympathetic character when you're on her side as well. And yeah, it's really good. It's a lot more than just the sort of generic, I'm all for like, Oceans type things, when you're just a heist and you're just like, yeah, they're doing the heist and it's clever and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this is less of it's still a thriller, but it's less of a like, popcorn film.
Yeah.
And it's actually a bit more, and I'm not saying, it's clever, so it's better, but there's just more to it. And on like more levels. It's really good.
It's not something you can like watch passively. You have to have an active engagement with it, otherwise you'll be like, wait, what? Salvador fucking who?
Well, yeah, they all wear these Salvador Dali masks. So then, whenever the police come in or they've got or they need to do anything like that, they get all of the hostages to dress up in the same way, so they don't know which ones are hostages and which ones are the hostages. What's the word? Hang on.
Hostages, not hostages. Hostages or hostage takers?
Yeah, hostage takers.
Hostages. Yeah. We're going to have hostages.
That sounds like a language that hostages have developed.
Hostages.
It's like no comprende.
Okay. I'm not going to speak anymore because the ever so slight spoilers, but we had this spoiler for us before we started watching it. The end of the first series ends on a cliffhanger mid heist, so we don't know how good it is, which is mildly annoying, but it's fine because there's like 4. Like I said, there's 4 parts, so presumably
there's presumably 3 more parts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so I don't know how it's going to finish yet, so I'll speak more about it next time probably. But cool. You mentioned languages.
Yes.
Something the takeaway point I can make from this, because it's all in Spanish with subtitles. Mm-hmm. I have learned the Spanish for plastic explosives. Now, are you ready? Let's play along at home. Everyone put on your lazy stereotype hat. What would you guess the Spanish for plastic explosives is?
Is it el plastic explosivo?
Very close.
Is it plastico?
Very close, but you've only got half of the word. What's the other word? Plastic explosives. Explosivo plastico. Obviously. Come on.
I am not comfortable with this at all.
Good.
Like, I know a little bit of Spanish, and that just hurts so much.
Good. It's so good. Oh yeah, it's
Oh
great.
my god.
That's great.
To be fair, I think anything in Spanish it sounds super awesome. But then again, I love languages, so anything in any other language sounds super fucking awesome. So you know.
Yeah. No, I'm always fascinated because obviously, like, so many
plastico.
so many words
in my guest house paradiso.
Yeah. So many words that we have of like.
Oh, English is a fucking nightmare.
Come from other places, or we've exported to other places, so you end up with these like words that are just like these weird mishmash of borrowed things, and it's great.
It's like, have you? It's like I saw you know when you see an Instagram famous person, you're like, you're an attractive, young, obviously wealthy person who's doing well on Instagram. There's probably something really dark that you're hiding.
Yeah, they killed a man.
No, they probably killed I climbed Mount Everest, but I used babies instead of crampons or fucking whatever.
That's standard,
you know, it's that kind of shit where you're like,
you just assume that of all Instagram.
You
stars.
can't no, just like social media influencers.
Yeah.
It's just I can't help but be like, you know. Says the fucking YouTuber.
Yeah, but we're like fucking Z tier YouTubers. So
no, that's fair. But yeah, and like he's French, and he kind of like talks about silly things in French and how they translate to English. So like there's the whole there, which is just like it's like the green frog.
Ver.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, the green worm goes towards the green glass or something.
It's pretty fun. And it's like I think that's so cool. Or like certain words, like the word for surgery is like it sounds like cock or something. It's like it sounds like dick, or you know, I can't remember exactly what the French word for surgery is. I'm sure you'll forgive me. I hope.
What's the other one? I'm trying to think of what's all the other ones. What's this one that's C ton sera tondu or something. It's like if your uncle shaves your uncle will be shaved, or something like that. I probably completely butchered that. I can't remember.
I know. I want to talk about the drummer Matt shaves the uncle story.
I don't.
Okay. It's going to be probably more interesting than, I don't know, half the movies I watch anyway.
I mean, that is true, but that doesn't really say anything about the quality of the Shave the Uncle story. That's more to do with the quality of the movies that you
Write
choose to
in
watch.
if you want to hear the Shave the Uncle story. You know what? I'll just make one up. I shaved my uncle from a shipwreck. He nearly drowned.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can have that one.
You saved yourself from the two terrible jokes earlier there. Well done.
Oh, did I? Thank you.
Oh, maybe one of them.
Okay, maybe. That's probably not good enough to forgive you for two of them.
Okay, you know what? I'm taking it.
Yeah,
I'm taking it.
Which one do you want to be stricken from the record?
I don't know. Whichever people perceive as worse, I'll have that struck.
The second one was probably the worst. Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
That one's gone from the record.
Yeah.
Now. Okay.
But no, language is fun.
Yeah.
Explosivo plastico
is the best.
Yeah.
It is. Headmaster.
Anyway, I will come back to assuming it finishes as good as it started, because so far big recommendation, but 3 seasons left out of the 4, so who knows.
Well, good luck. I hope it's good for you. I would shake hands with you, but we are not in physical proximity.
Good, honestly.
Yeah. Good that I would shake your hand, or good that you're not in physical proximity with me?
Yes. Moving on to the questions.
Social distancing. We live on Plague Island. What the fuck?
He's in our bubble, and if we meet outside, it's fine. We can I don't know. We can just stand there and shake our butts at each other, and this is the new normal. It's like, let's shake on it, and then we turn around and just twerk at each other. I think there's something here. I think
definitely something
there's
here.
Something. There's something here. I'm on. You know what? Give me another 10 minutes and I'll have it. Just
Okay, well,
right.
Matt,
in the
carry on.
meantime, shall we blast through some questions?
Yes. Let's try and do this quickly because waffling.
Yes, mucho waffling.
Mucho wobino.
Snipe, just to distract you from thinking about whatever you're thinking about again, what's the email address?
Oh, I fucking hate you, man. The email address is thedrummermat@gmail.com.
Yeah, see, it should be easy if we didn't cock it up for the first however long.
Well, I mean, you started it.
Fair.
I don't know. I'm just blaming you. I don't know what for. Okay, questiones.
First up, there's been a lot of dip feedback. So
Dip?
a lot of people. You asked what people's favourite dip was for their lightly salted tortilla chips.
Mine is the white dip for lightly salted tortilla chips.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's like sour cream and chive or some shit, which I hate in every other form. Whatever. Okay, yes, give me dip feedback.
So there is various bits of that, so I'll go through that as we go through.
Okay.
So first up, Brandon, their favourite
Hello.
dip? Hummus.
Oh, okay, Brandon, we are blocking your email.
Hummus is a strong choice for most things, but I'm not sure it's the right dip for the lightly salted tortilla
I just
chip.
don't like hummus.
Gotta be
And
honest.
my brother fucking seriously loves hummus. Like he
Hummus
uses
is great.
it. He uses it as fucking contact lens solution. He uses it to degrease his fucking engine. He uses it to placate his children. I fucking hate hummus.
I use it for one of those things.
You maybe don't. Personal lubricant, maybe, but like anything else, it's a bit extreme. You know what I mean?
What's the actual question?
D&D question for us.
Oh.
If you could have a piece of adventuring equipment, so weapon, armour, tools, etc., transform on command into a trainable monster, what equipment and monster would they be?
Now, you know, of all the questions, I did not expect it to be that.
I would not have guessed that, no.
And also, we have one. We have a bag of holding that's Nibbly. The luggage.
Nibbly is great.
Nibbly
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah, he's like the luggage from the Discworld
He's made of
series.
sapient pear wood. He's cool. I would have... I would have, like, the Flask of Endless Water, but it would be, like... It would look like a Shellos from Pokemon, and its head would be really floppy, and on command it would just vomit, like, 40,000 gallons of water.
That wasn't the question, though. It was an item that transforms into something. It transforms into, like, a creature.
No, I like mine best. I don't know anything about, like, the kind of, like, magic items and stuff, because, like, all our campaigns, like, we tend not to really have any, like, super special magic items.
It's more of a question. So, did you listen or watch the first series of Critical Role?
No.
Okay, well, one of the characters has a belt that he can throw onto the floor and it turns into a snake. So it's that sort of thing. You've got an item that you can...
You
could have a ball bearing that you threw down and turned into a Pikachu or something, and then pretend to be Pokemon.
Okay.
That's the gist of it.
So I want one thing that can turn into another, and I have to name what both things are.
Yeah.
Okay, I want a pillow that turns into a approximation of a human being.
A literal body pillow.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to...
And they can pet me and stroke my hair.
Okay, now it's got creepy.
No, just kind of like I've had a hard day of, like, you know, beating up goblins, and I go in and I'm like, I want a cuddle, and then I get like a little head pat and a cuddle. That sounds nice. It's not like a sex thing. I'm not a weirdo.
I want a knife
Okay.
that turns into a fish. Because you then throw the knife at someone and they're like, oh shit, I'm getting a knife thrown at me, and then they get a fish slap them in the face. I think that would be very funny.
Yeah, but what, does it reach like a certain velocity where it just automatically transforms? Or
I guess once you hurl it, once it leaves your hand,
I guess
it's
once
got
you-
like a few seconds. Like maybe it has
you
to
could
like...
probably attune to it, so it's like you could kind of
Yeah.
within like a reasonable amount of like seconds, you could kind of like control it.
Or
Like
alternatively...
my body pillow, I could just literally, it would say like that until, you know, I got bored.
Okay. Alternately, you'd throw it as a fish, and then someone would be like, I don't have to dodge that, it's just a fish, and then you turn it to a knife, and they go, oh fuck, ow.
What kind of fucking lunatic? If someone threw a fish at them, they'd go, nah, I'm not going to dodge that. That's
Well, you
fine.
wouldn't dodge it with quite such fervour as if someone threw a knife at you.
Fish are icky.
Yeah.
And
Mechanically,
no one
you just
knows
like
how to throw a knife properly.
Mechanically, you just minus one off their AC for the lack
Yeah.
of their dodging.
Yeah, because they're just... It's not that they want to get hit in the face by a fish, it's just that, you know...
They
they're going to prioritize other things in a melee over.
If someone was stabbing them at the same time, they'd prefer to get hit by the fish than the stab.
Okay, this is fair.
Like, this is a combat encounter. I'm not treating this as like, if I just walk into the room and then hurl a fish at you, and then you're just going to like slap you in the face.
Okay,
and go like, oh.
but okay, this is fantastic because then you could infiltrate like the lord of the fucking like burrows or whatever. You could infiltrate his thing as a chef, cook your knife.
What, then make him eat it, and then turn it back into a knife when it's inside him?
Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't, because he's going to be cutting it up. But then, like, when he's finished eating it, it all just reforms and goes, knife! And then it's like, oh no.
See, that is a wonderfully creative way to use it.
Yeah.
See, this is why it's a good item.
And then he'll be like, oh no, I have... Then you can be like, knife to meet you. And he'll be like, it's okay, I'm in a stable condition.
Matt, what item would you have?
I don't know. I've got bogged down on the fact that it could be the example items are weapons, armor, tools. Like, hang on, if it's armor and it transforms into a thing, are you then still wearing the creature you've converted it into?
Yes.
Oh, and I don't know which creature would I rather be wearing.
I think Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Right?
Yeah.
He big.
I have a magical pair of shoes that turn into a pair of chickens. It's actually really horrifying because it's just like two chickens with like my feet stuck down the throat.
No, that sounds horrible. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt the chickens.
You have to take them off first.
Even then,
you have to be very careful not to activate it.
Well, no, I think that they probably...
They're magical chickens. It's fine. They don't get hurt.
Can I have like a cape that I can transform into like a fox or something nice and fluffy? So then you can put it on your back, and then when you get cold, you can transform it into the thing that like wraps around your neck and keeps you even toastier.
Well, I mean, dude, my hands are right here, and I'll keep you warm for the rest of your life.
Oh.
I won't really. I'm not going to kill you.
That was weirdly threatening out of nowhere.
Very threatening. I'm going to move on.
Sorry,
Rob. Their favourite dip. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this is not a dip at all. It's why just have a dip if when the alternative is you can add sour cream and guacamole to nachos with a delicious mix of cheese, beans, and, if desired, special meats, and make spiced meats. So special meats is something different. Spiced meats, and then make a whole meal of it.
Because like lightly salted tortilla chips and dip is just like the best kind of like you feel like garbage. Have a nice like morale boosting snack.
You're thinking low effort.
I'm thinking low effort.
Yeah,
and it's like whereas like having like a proper like nacho burrito bowl is just like effort.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, fair enough if that's their choice. That's cool. If they can be bothered to make it, then great. But I can't, and I don't like half the ingredients because I am an idiot.
Their question.
Yes.
If the lightly salted tortilla chip is the vanilla of crisps, what
it is not
is the vanilla of 40K's grimdark future?
The vanilla fascism?
Are we just talking in general? Do we mean factions?
In general.
Well, I mean, I
would say fascism because that's just kind
I
of like
assume factions.
Background. Yeah, I mean, they want
the overall
us to say
theme is less specific. I'd say more totalitarianism is more accurate if we're talking about a more generalized theme.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But no, I mean, you want us to say ultramarines, don't you?
No, see, that would have been my answer. But then there's a follow-up question, which is which faction is 40K's coleslaw? And I think that one is definitely ultramarines.
It depends.
No, because I fucking hate coleslaw. Whereas, like, actually in the books, like, some categorization of the Ultramarines is pretty cool. Like that, like they just like play like loads of like war scenarios, and they're
the Ultramarines are generally pretty cool, but it's just they're just presented as the
default, and people don't like the default, so.
I'm going to keep saying bad things about them, and then you two are going to keep saying, vaguely defending them like that.
Well, no, it's just because it's kind of like a meme to hate on them, and I understand where that comes from, but also, I can't be arsed, you know?
We are in 40K spheres online a lot more than you are. So,
yeah, you are literally, you're fucking poking a bullet wound here.
We've seen this battlefield before. No one wins.
I was born on the battlefield, raised on the battlefield. The sound of gunshots, angry Redditors, and people hating female space marines were my lullabies.
I mean, straight up the like most generic, most like standard thing is just Space Marines in general.
Just Space Marines in general, because they're just dudes that are chonky.
And like half the fucking like different armies you can play as Space Marines. I think it's actually close to a third, but you know, it's still, for saying it's one particular thing, it's one army functionally, just with different variants. It's it takes up a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
But coleslaw, I guess it depends on what people mean by coleslaw. Like me personally, I can't stand coleslaw, so I would be the faction.
Coleslaw is just a garbage, whatever the fuck it is.
It would be the faction that I dislike the most, and I can't say I dislike any of them to like. Any kind of strong degree.
You know what? I would say if a Primarch was coleslaw, it would be Petarabo, because he's a piece of shit and I hate him.
You do not like Petarabo.
He's a fucking dick. I hate him.
Yeah, I guess if I had to
Stinky
pick...
butt man.
If I had to pick my least favourite
He's like
faction?
a butthole stuffed full of coleslaw.
I'm trying to think what my least favourite faction even is, because like, it used to be like kind of Eldar, because I just didn't care about Eldar, but I've actually like had an Eldar army since, and like I kind of like
they have kind of elaborated on them a lot.
Not really. It's just, I've learnt about them more.
Okay.
This is I don't know. I'm trying to think of like one that I actually don't like. Like there's lots of like.
I really don't like about half of the Mechanicus armies, but the other half is like one of my favourite looking. So
that's fair.
I'm not
Swings
sure
and roundabouts.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that goes into coleslaw.
Yeah, coleslaw is whatever you want it to be, and it's usually awful.
Something nurgly.
No, don't besmirch Papa Nurgle with coleslaw.
I know, I'm not. Coleslaw's amazing.
You sick fuck.
It's just quite slimy.
Yeah. I guess if I had to pick one, maybe like Chaos Demons, purely because they're a fantasy army as well, so they're
not special.
Not special. But also, I guess. But even then, I don't dislike them.
Okay, you know what? Wib can't decide because of who he is as a person.
I think it's because there's positive aspects to like all of the model lines. So even if I don't particularly like the lore or whatever, like there's some model lines where I'm like, no, that's really cool. Like for the sake of argument, like if I was like, oh god, I don't like Tau, but I'm like, but like the Farside Enclaves are really cool, and like the Crisis suits are rad as shit. So like, you know, like there's always something. Even though I actually kind of like Tau, but you know.
All right, let's move on from this very difficult to answer serious question.
Yep.
Okay.
Dean.
Hello, Dean.
So, following on from our discussion about the relative powers and biologies of clangers and wombles.
Oh god.
Please, could you ask Snipe and Web their opinions on the combat effectiveness of the Bottle Army from Button Moon?
The fuck is that?
I don't think I ever watched Button Moon. I'm vaguely aware it exists.
Button Moon is a thing?
It was a kids show. Wasn't it stop motion? I've not thought about it for
See, that just
like
made
2
me
decades.
think of button quails and how cute button quails are. Everyone take a moment, pause the podcast and Google button quail.
Yeah, there you go. There's
that is horror.
They had a baked bean spaceship.
What?
Yeah, it's a baked bean tin.
Oh.
Okay, so based on that alone, and the fact that they apparently have their captain is called Captain Large, how do you think they'd fare in combat effectiveness?
Okay, so
horrifically bad. Like they would be so bad for their opponents.
They would be exterminators immediately.
No, these are monsters.
No, because they're monsters.
Yeah, no.
They would look at it and go, okay, their leader is Captain Large. We need to fucking like virus bomb this planet immediately.
Yeah, but the thing is, like his nickname is War Crimes.
Oh,
Captain War Crimes Large. Because of all the large war crimes he commits.
You see, if my last name was Large, I'd change my middle name to At.
Okay.
Do that, Large. Yeah. Right.
Do you get it?
But yes, no, these are monsters, and only
look
in
at those dead eyes.
Yeah.
Look at those dead eyes. They would kill you and feel nothing.
Yeah, you don't want to get into a fight with the Button Moon cast.
No, they would fuck you up, dude. Jesus Christ! I need to stop looking at this. It's horror. It's horror.
All right.
It's body horror.
Moving on. I have to for legal reasons. I very quickly have to mention that Grox boxes are the best.
Yes.
Let's just move on from that. Grox, in unrelated news, Grox said that their choice for lightly salted tortilla dips would be either a mild salsa or a small bowl of chili con carne.
Oh.
And they also quickly want to mention fuck guacamole.
Thank you, Grox. Thank you. Guac is gross. It's like someone looked at an avocado and went, this is disgusting. How can we make it worse?
What would it look like if I fucked it?
Yeah, what would it look like if I practiced my anal kegels on it? I don't know if that's a thing.
Fuck.
Sure.
My anal floor muscles with an avocado trying to crack that stone.
Moving on. Tidders. Favourite dip for lightly salted tortilla? LSTC? I need to find a quicker way of saying lightly salted tortilla chips.
Just say lightly salted tortilla chips. It just rolls off the tongue like lightly salted tortilla chips.
Their favourite dip for nachos is any, because they're a complete sauce slut.
Fair.
All the sauces. Question for Wib.
Oh, I see how it is, Tids. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, fine. Question for you both, but I'm fairly sure everyone can guess the answer for you, Snipe.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the 1973 American-Canadian sci-fi show, The Starlost?
What?
I have not. The name
created by Harlan Ellison.
Okay, the name does sound a little familiar, but I didn't... yeah, okay, I shall check that out. The Starlost, you said?
I'll write that down.
The Starlost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I shall look that up, because Harlan Ellison is always
very interesting, if not... Yeah,
he's an interesting writer.
Yes.
I think that's
very polite way.
That's the way I shall put this.
Yeah. Can't believe Tidders didn't ask me a question. Wow, Tidders, I see how it is.
Well, I mean, I guess you could answer that one, but I assume the answer is just no.
Yes, actually. I actually have a The Starlost tattoo that I don't show off very often.
You used to run a website off of Angel Fire?
I did, and I used that like fucking Skullfire gif that made everyone know that when they came to my The Starlost fan page, which was the best fan page on the internet around the circa 2005, I'll have you fucking know, I made £25 in Google ad revenue over over like 2 years, so it was a pretty big fucking deal. Not to toot my own horn.
I can't believe you're stealing my story about when I actually the first time I ever got paid on the internet was for ad revenue off a Dawn of War website that I ran that got like 25 quid of Google ad revenue. And
it was 50 actually.
Was it 50?
Yeah,
50. Oh yeah, it was 50 because the payout was 50 at the time. I spent it to go and watch the band Streetlight Manifesto at Junction 7 in Nottingham. Shock horror.
So fuck you, Tidders. That's how much I'm into The Starlost.
Good.
1973 Canadian American sci-fi written by Harlan Ellison.
Yeah, you've remembered more about it than I have so far. So
yeah,
well done. All right, next up. Oh, are you ready? Actually, all joking aside, a serious political question.
Oh Jesus! Okay,
right,
are you ready? Put your hats on.
Hats?
Charlie asks, "What's your opinion, if you're willing to give it, on the police crime sentencing and courts bill?"
Fucking shit.
Oh god, mate.
Yeah, it's a whole big bag of wank. You're not allowed to protest anymore, and you're not allowed to, if you're a traveller, fuck you. Apparently, that's just the thing, and it's just ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Let's not dwell. It's a big bag of wank.
It's fucking terrible, and
it's fucking awful, and it is a flagrant and horrifying display of how totalitarianist ideas and individuals are just able to do what the fuck they really want, and it's frightening, and it makes me worry for the future of this fucking turf island, and I hate it. And if they ban protesting, then I'm probably going to have a big criminal record, because I'm going to keep doing it because it is my fucking right. And yeah, it's a big pile of wank.
Yeah. And speaking of big pile of wank, no. Their follow-up question was, have we seen the TV show on Netflix, Snowpiercer? And I have not, but the film's a big pile of wank. Just to link the two things.
Okay, I have not. I've heard the series is pretty good. I've heard. Yeah. I do keep meaning to. It's on my ever expanding list of shit that I should watch, but just don't, because I just don't for some reason. Because anxiety, I think. I don't know.
Well, it's when someone recommends you watch something, you have to you have to put it off for at least a year. It's like people tell me.
Are you talking about me specifically?
No, I'm talking about everyone.
Okay.
Like how I was told to watch The Expanse for years, and instead I was watching like fucking Blake 7.
Like a nerd.
All right. Moving on, a few more.
Mm-hmm.
Sepulchrave groan.
Hello.
So, the famous passage from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Yeah. Absolutely stupid, but also possibly like the only true thing from that film. So, the question is, what is a statement you've heard that is both completely, utterly stupid, but also completely, utterly true?
Oh, how long you got, honey? I mean, what have I said today?
Most of what you say, actually no, not most of what you say isn't completely and utterly true, is it?
I think you'll find it is actually. Oh my god, getting fucking attacked.
That's a question that I need a bit of a run up for to.
Something that is utterly and completely like ridiculous, but it's true. Capitalism.
It exists, and we all have to deal with it.
The fact, and this helps humanize my heroes and people like I kind of put on a pedestal. No matter like imagine the most fucking hottest person you've ever encountered. Like seriously, the most attractive. If you have any like romantic or sexual attraction, I'm not going to assume that you do. And they're like the most beautiful, most funny and talented and so incredibly sexy person in the world. They have at one point had explosive diarrhea, and that helps me sleep at night knowing that they are human too. So that sounds very silly, but it's pretty legit actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just remember, you meet your heroes, they've probably shat themselves at one point.
Yeah.
So one-up them and assert dominance by doing it at the meet, and don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. Bake them a shit cake.
No, don't do that.
No, bake them a cake. Actually, no, buy them a cake. And then just write shit on the fucking thing.
Yeah, here's a quick thing. If you ever meet anyone...
Don't make homemade goods.
Because they won't eat it.
Because I literally have seen YouTubers eat pins and shit. So it's like, it's just safer if you don't do that. If you want to take somebody something, get them a sealed box of chocolates or something like that. Because then they'll feel safe. Because they don't know you. And they probably really like Maltesers. So... probably don't write shit on something they're going to consume.
Maybe not.
At them.
And throw it at them. She probably fucking overarms that cake. And it makes a comedy noise as it hits the fucking kitchen counter.
Good.
Well, since you had your diarrhea saying and no one else can seem to think of anything, I think that's just the answer to that question.
Don't say it like that.
It's an excellent question, but it's not one that it's hard to think of at the time, I think.
Yeah.
We might think of one later.
Oh, every 7 years, we have a new skeleton. So if you have a t-shirt that's 10 years old, that's older than your current skeleton.
Citation needed.
No, it's like your body replaces like everything, like every between every 7 and 10 years. So, yeah. I mean, I do it manually, but that's because I like the rush.
Okay.
Okay. P.S. You're not going to like this.
Oh.
P.S.
What?
I enjoy eating my lightly salted tortilla chips with some freshly made guacamole.
That's okay.
I'll defend them, but I don't think you will.
don't hold it against you too much.
Okay. Gecko Knox, dip
Hello.
choice, M&S smoky chipotle chipotle? M&S smoky chipotle salsa. Sounds a bit bougie, but it's only a quid.
Pronounce it like Aristotle.
Sentient hair. Moving on.
No, sentient hair. What?
Sentient hair. Moving on.
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's the next question. I'm scanning it. I've lost it.
Oh, you are drunk.
I'm brushing over all of the mispronunciations.
Okay.
The sentient hair. If orcs started using cryptocurrency,
oh, fuck off.
Would it be called Bytecoin? Because teeth.
God, I hope not. I hope they'd all, like... The moment they were, like, it started to getting into crypto, I hope that they just all die. Just immediately. They just all die and crypto would fucking die.
And also for the orcs, too.
Yes!
Just fuck cryptocurrency. I hate it so much.
I saw someone describe...
I hate anytime someone says, like, any fucking time anything comes up to do with a blockchain, it is the most fucking... Aside from the ecological fucking nonsense, horrific ecological cost.
Money is fake. Some money is faker than others.
Just money being fake anyway. Like, it's just so fucking tedious. And it's so fucking stupid. I hate it so much.
I think I heard the best description, which was like crypto is just MLMs for boys.
Basically.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of tricks. You're all being tricked. It's a scam.
I mean, NFTs are just the most transparent scam.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to get into that because, yeah, I've had to unfollow some really good artists for falling victim to that fucking scam.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway.
All right. On a related note, but unrelated, so moving to real currency. If orcs stopped using teeth, what would they use as their next currency?
Twerking.
That kind of checks out.
Legit, I'd probably think like kind of tech, like scrap.
So they wouldn't have like currency. They'd have more like a trading kind of thing.
Yeah, but because they're orcs, they'd be unsophisticated. So just having a huge chunk of scrap would probably work.
Mm. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, just some like nuts and bolts and shit.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was a sensible.
No, that was
answer,
a really
wasn't it?
sensible. I mean, to be fair, I think I've given out all the stupid answers. So we've only got sensible ones left.
Next question.
Well, on that note, with only sensible answers left, and apparently I can't pronounce anything anymore, that is the end of the questions, which is probably good.
To be fair, Jerome and Matt, that was unbelievably cute. And I would never seriously take the piss out of you for having trouble pronouncing something.
But Chipotle sounds like pretentious.
It is.
It's spelled Chipotle.
Isn't Chipotle the one that just it
sells a lot of like Mexican kind of like Spanish kind of themed food, but it's kind of like it's as Spanish as like, you know, fucking like what do they call, like something panda in America?
I don't know.
Basically it's not. It's like, you know how the English created chicken tikka masala?
Yeah.
It's kind of like... Wait, no.
No, I don't think that example was going to be a good one.
No. Basically, it's a big fake Spanish restaurant and they did a recent makeover crossover with ELF or L for eyes, lips, and face. They had an eyeshadow palette that looked like the self-service fucking buffet thing.
Yeah.
So they had like green, which was guacamole. What?
What are you talking about?
A makeup?
The M&S Smoky Chipotle Salsa had a makeup line.
No. Chipotle is an American restaurant that sells
I mean, in this context, it's just the flavour, not the American restaurant chain.
Okay.
I think.
But yeah, and Chipotle had a makeup crossover with Elf. A very affordable, like they do some really good like eyeshadow palettes, and this one is not one of them. I've seen it used and it looks very blotchy, but yeah, and they literally just have the colours of like relish and guacamole and stuff. But it's an eyeshadow palette.
Because we live in the end times and nothing has to make sense anymore.
Exactly. So yeah, that was fun. What did you just call it? Chipotle?
Chipotle is actually just a jalapeno, apparently.
A chipotle?
A smoke-dried jalapeno.
Oh, okay. I hate jalapenos, but I love the term chipotle.
Chipotle.
That sounds like I'm gonna get in my car and chipotle on over to your house.
Whoa, chipotle, la la.
That's Chipotle's new theme tune.
Yeah.
Pay us, motherfuckers.
Chipotle.
All right.
Chipotle over to
Chipotle. I'm really glad that I was just talking about the flavour and not the restaurant. I'm glad about that.
Yeah.
I haven't been.
This episode's got a bit off the rails, hasn't it?
Oh yeah. Bedtime for everyone.
Yeah, we should all just go lie down in dark rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
And think about what we've done.
Okay, well, thank you everybody who sent questions. And my question today is, if you what is the weirdest eyeshadow palette crossover that you would like to see? Because that's definitely approaching our audience.
That's very, very much appealing to our demographic.
You know what I'd do? Mine would be the Aldi, like, damaged tins aisle. So you had, like, the gross-ass yellow stickers they put on things for, like, reduced?
Yeah.
I'd have that, like, that's a colour. And then it'd be called reduced.
I'd do one that is based on whatever the current Games Workshop painting set is. So they have all the gross names of the paints.
Oh, yes, let me just put on my Reichland flesh here. And I'm going to line my eyes with Abaddon Black. And I'm feeling a bit kind of fun, so I'm going to highlight with pustule paint. I don't know what, with Nurgle's Rot.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Drummer Matt, what about you?
I don't know. It'd have to match whatever ridiculous jumper I was wearing at the time, I suppose.
So like, the dad cardigan crossover.
Yeah.
The crossover, it'd be a crossover with, I don't know, like, you get a lot of them secondhand, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, who buys new clothes?
Yeah, I know. I was questioning you, because I was sure that's what you did, but I didn't want to just say it and not, So it could be like, I don't know, like the colours of charity shops. I don't know. That sounds worse than I mean it.
That sounds really... That sounds offensive, but I don't know to whom.
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean it like
No.
that.
It would be...
Just as long as it doesn't smell like that one that was in the place we used to live that always smelt of, like, slightly off gravy.
Yeah, what was up with that one?
Specific smell.
Oh, it's because it had, like, a little cafe attached to it that always smelled, like, slightly off gravy, so the whole charity shop smelled like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you call it something like, cardigan couture. That's brilliant. Don't fucking... I'm patenting that shit.
Yeah, you can.
But yeah, anyway, thank you everybody, and we hope you have. We hope you've had a good Bunny Day if you celebrate the Chocky Bunny Day. And
it's Easter today, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Have fun,
forgot.
everybody, and don't forget to stay hydrated, you fantastic bitches. We love you. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.